Well, and look, the agents that are winning right now, they're not smarter than you.
No,
right? I'd actually
definitely.
probably
Some might be way dumber.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Might say the opposite, right? Like I remember before COVID, it was the crash is coming. The real estate market's going to crash. I'm going to wait for the crash to happen so I can buy at the bottom again because we were overdue for a recession. COVID hit, and then it was, obviously I'm going to wait for that crash to happen, and then it took off.
Yep.
And then after pre-COVID, post-COVID, rates went up. Then I'm like, I'm going to wait for that crash.
Yep.
And it's like, guys, like, what are we doing here?
You can always find the apocalypse du jour, 100%. That's always out there. I know that some people on here will disagree with me, and I'll debate you. I'll go to the mattresses over this one. Like, no one should be a better lead generator than you in your business.
Well, I mean, Justin Nelson said it best. Justin Nelson runs a massive, virtual agency staffing company, and he said, people would come to me like, I want to get a VA to make phone calls, and he's like, well, who's going to train them? Because you're not wanting to make the phone calls, you're not good at it,
right?
So how are you going to train your bad way to these VAs who live in another country?
Right, you're just going to replicate your bad lead generation.
Yeah.
DFW, turn it up. This week in DFW Real Estate. The weekly podcast built for agents who actually get paid. Market moves, listing heat, closing streets. DFW agents. Let's eat.
Hello, friends.
You really got me on that one this morning. Yeah, you definitely. I thought
I wasn't even trying to do a bit. I felt weird afterwards.
You sent that text and then that text. I was like, I'm waiting for you to ask for gift
Y'all
cards.
made it weird. I didn't even think it was like we do this every year. That was my bad for thinking you guys were going to pick up on it at the first day of the Masters. Made me feel uncomfortable.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
You know what's
I needed a little comedic break for a second. And you guys made it uncomfortable.
I feel you. All right. Well, episode 7. Welcome back to episode 7 of This Week in DFW Real Estate. No?
Nope.
7? 8?
Yep.
Well, it could be 7 or 8.
AI is going to smooth this over.
No,
anyway.
we just go with it.
Just go with it.
No. You know what we teach? We don't teach about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about just
done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. So welcome back to 7 and or 8, depending on which one you're listening to. Look, today I want to dive in and talk about it is Masters Week.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? Before we dive into, agents not closing enough deals to survive, because that really brings it down. Can you answer a question for me? Who would book and schedule a golf tournament on the weekend of Masters weekend?
I would have to say someone who shouldn't be scheduling golf tournaments.
You know who does
not an avid golfer.
You know who does schedule golf tournaments on Masters weekend? Addie, my daughter's sorority. Because I'm flying to Lubbock tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm in a golf tournament on Saturday.
Oh man, that would be, it's always hard for me to pass up a good golf tournament. We played last week and it was a blast. I don't know if I could make it. Yeah. That would be so frustrating. I'm sorry.
Yeah, how do you
sorry having to deal with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Where are you playing?
Is it Shadow something? What is it?
Shadow Creek.
Shadow Creek.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I've been told the same thing. They've said the same thing like,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Isn't there a different Shadow Creek? And then is in Nevada is Shadow Creek?
There's a Shadow Creek, I think, in Nevada. This is Shadow Creek of Lubbock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the Paris of Texas.
I thought you were going to say the Rawls course, which is Texas Tech's golf course. And that's where I worked for about 3 years. And it's
really nice.
Amazing.
I was hoping that it was the Rawls course, but
you should tell them to change it.
I guess I didn't spend enough money on these golf tournament tickets. So, but here's what we want to go. I've been talking to a lot of agents that have been interviewing either for the team or they're looking at switching brokerages right now. I don't know how in your coaching world, Brian, if you're seeing this, but this recently, I think it was one of the Redfin executives came out and was talking at, I think, an Inman event, and they were saying like 71% of agents didn't close a deal last year. A lot of people try to find these numbers out, and these are coming from the executives that are running these large brokerages.
Right.
And now they're saying is like 80% of agents in this country haven't closed a single deal this year, which is up. And what we really want to talk about is what's happening and, what are the agents that are actually closing deals? What are they doing differently? Because there's some people that, if you ask them, they're busier than ever.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit, maybe a few episodes ago, that the agents who are really leaning in that have maybe already some momentum in their business, I feel anecdotally like they're taking more market share. My wife's transaction management company is very busy with repeat clients. These are all established agents. It's interesting that 80%, it says 80% of agents haven't closed a deal this year. We can argue about that 71%. I don't like getting into the weeds about those things like, well, that includes all these different, it's like, that's a big number regardless, right? So I don't like to get into the weeds about those things. 80% of agents, it says, haven't closed a deal this year, and resale turnover is at its lowest point in 40 years. So agents are competing for fewer transaction sides. I think that's an interesting conversation, though. When you ask what are agents doing differently, are agents actually all competing for fewer transaction sides? Where we've been in the real estate industry and the coaching business for a long time now, I think we can both agree that even in really good markets with a lot of resale turnover, getting agents to get up and compete every day is still the one thing that separates highly productive agents from agents that tend to burn out over time. I think you may have to compete a little harder right now. My guess would be that I think agents are allowing a lot of noise into their world right now, and it's keeping them in a place of inaction. I think pound for pound, if you were to be able to measure hours spent lead generating every day right now, as opposed to hours spent lead generating when the sentiment around the market is at a peak, you'll see that people are lead generating less right now.
I agree with you. And do you also believe, I use this analogy, like if you were fishing in a pond, there's two ponds side by side, and you've cast your line out a couple times and you haven't caught anything. And then you're on the next pond over and you see Brian over there. He's thrown his line out and he's caught a fish or two. What do you end up doing? Most people run over to that other pond and just start casting their line out, and they're jumping around too much.
Yes.
Right. They're jumping from different lead sources. They're 1 minute they're 100% committed, and the next minute it's the sky is falling. Yep. And they don't have a consistency in their day to day.
Exactly.
And then they let all the other noise, like you mentioned, you kind of run the show. It's like waking up without a plan. And the minute you look at your phone and now, the fire is just let out of it's now roaring into the biggest wildfire you've ever seen.
Yep.
And now you're just trying to control it so it doesn't make you go crazy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think where these stats are I think really relevant. We've got to close deals to stay in business. It's as simple as that. And where I think a lot of agents are in a situation right now where they don't feel like they have the requisite time and consistency available to them that you have to give lead generation in order for it to come through. And so they start jumping around looking for the thing that's going to get them a closing today, which it just doesn't exist, right? You got to be consistent every day. We all know that. And when agents are in a situation where they feel like they need here and now business, that's where you start to get scatterbrained. That's where you start jumping around. That's where you start looking at that other pond when if agents, when I coach agents, when we do an initial business planning session, I never talk about more than 3 lead gen sources ever. If you want to get in the weeds about that, like we're gonna have a different conversation later on, but we need to talk about no more than 3 strategies. I would prefer to talk about 1 in the beginning if it's somebody I'm just coaching. What is going to be our non-negotiable every single day that we're going to do no matter what. And until that's working, we're not going to pile anything else on top of it. But at maximum, we need to have only 3 things we do, whether that's open houses, prospecting, sphere of influence. We're not doing anything more than that. We're not doing paid leads on top of that. We're not doing events. We're only focusing on 3 until we have enough measurable feedback to know, are we doing the right things? Have we done it consistently long enough? And then we can talk about adjusting and pivoting over time. I would say the average agent out there is trying to do like 10 different things right now. They're not doing any of them well enough.
Well, when you become a generalist, you're a master of none, right? You're the jack of all trades is not the master of any trade. And so, you hit the nail on the head on that. And I think that we're running around, and I want to give a real life example of someone who I was having a coaching conversation with yesterday. And this is not to talk bad. What she's doing is freaking amazing. But when I started this industry, it was, I was a paid assistant, and then I went full time as a 100% commission real estate agent in 2007.
Yeah.
I sold 3 houses, right? Not enough to survive.
Yeah.
It was, I had a little bit of cash at that time and enough to get it going. 08 comes around. I start trying some different strategies, kind of starts working. I'd gotten into this retirement community, and then the 08 financial collapse happens. Well, that retirement community dried up.
Yeah.
Their retirement funds, they were either gone or they were worried about their money. And I had no business coming in.
Yeah.
And when I started looking at coaching and looking at the different lead levers, I was a believer at that time that my sphere and database wasn't going to pay me. And so I neglected that. But this coach told me is that you need to master, just like you said, you need to master 1 lead source. And I went down the path of who has already raised their hand.
Yep.
Expireds.
Yep.
They've already raised their hands.
Yep.
They've already agreed at least to some commission amount. They've already agreed to go on the MLS.
Yeah.
They've already agreed to allow showings coming in their house. And they've already agreed that if they got that price, they were going to sell it and move out. And so my strategy was I'm going to master this one, not for sale by owners, but expireds and canceled. And I did nothing until I was making enough off of that 1 lead lever.
Yeah.
And still to this day, as I was coaching this agent yesterday, I said, if you had me call for sale by owners, I'd probably go broke right now because that's not something that I mastered in my business.
Right.
I can still today have that expired conversation. The frustrations that expired, canceled homeowners have today is still the same that it was in 2008.
Yeah, sure.
And has carried on through 2026.
So what do you think if we take this number of 80% of agents that haven't done a deal this year, if there are only 2 things they could be doing to lead generate every day, what are those 2 things, and do you think the average of those agents is actually doing them every day?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the answer to that latter question is they're not doing it because otherwise they would be getting into business.
Right.
The conversation I had yesterday with this agent, and she's a go-getter, she's a killer, she's going to be an amazing real estate professional, is that she didn't feel like she was doing enough. She wasn't busy enough. She was doing open houses, getting 2 to 3 people signing up and giving their contact information. She's door knocking, inviting the neighbors in there. And she was telling me that she told her husband now, this is prospecting. Now she wants marketing involved. And because she just wasn't having success fast enough. Yeah. And I think that's where the problem lies is number one is that we want something, the instant gratification is what kills our business. Yep. Because when we do something for even 30 days and we don't see a result, we say it's not going to work. Right. Even though that momentum is about to waterfall into massive success. But then we start chasing other things into this marketing concept where it's like magnetic, like I want to attract people in, but they don't know how to do that very well. They're wasting money. And we'll give you a prime example. By the way, go support our sponsors of this show, Homeward DFW. That's the best property management company here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Dana, Wynn, and Duncan O'Donnell are here to help your clients get their properties leased out quickly and as well as professionally manage them. And you need a remodeling company. Maybe you got a property under contract. Maybe you've got a client looking to remodel a house or a kitchen or a bathroom. ProCare Home Solutions will take care of you. Chris and his team do an amazing job. And that's ProCareDFW.com. As well, you should be doing podcasts. You should be doing video work and getting yourself out there because we're talking about some marketing material here. Get with Jesse at Tour Studios, TORE Studios.com. But she's talking about the marketing piece. And the problem is, like, if you go to our real estate group, DFW Realtors on Facebook, I can't tell you how many spam posts that come through that people think they're marketing. They've made AI create a graphic. They're like, this looks freaking amazing. Someone's going to want to click on it and do business with me. Or they're going to write this long run-on sentence paragraph on why people should call them. And it's like, that's not marketing.
No.
Right. And on our other show, when we were recording the only real estate podcast we're listening to, we had Michael Reese on. I think he was like episode 3 or 4.
Pretty early, yeah. And
Michael Reese would always tell, and this is something I tell agents even to this day, is like, being the greatest agent isn't the one that knows the market really well. That should be a given, in my opinion.
Should be your job.
Right? Just like, why should I use you? Well, I give great service and I'm a hard worker. That's not the reason why they're hiring you. You should always give great service and you should always work really hard. But Michael Reese would talk about the best agent out there is the best marketer. Yep. Right? How many people have you seen out there that market really, really well and they know how to hook, that get the hook in there? I mean, let's be real. President Trump, whether you like him or not, he is and was a really great marketer in order to get eyeballs and attention on him. And so when we look at it, it's like, all right, do you actually have a marketing plan? And it does cost some money. And by the way, marketing takes time to see results.
Sure.
So what you should be doing is really running that side by side.
Yeah.
But you should always be leading with that proactive prospecting, that proactive lead gen.
100%. That's what I'm getting at right there. Is as you scale the business, you want to run your marketing side parallel. That's how you grow. That's how you scale. If you need to generate business, as we all need to generate business here and now all the time, continue to fill our pipeline, you need to be lead generating every single day. And there are kind of two extremes to lead generating. You're either talking to people that you already know or you're talking to people that you don't know. It's as simple as that. So you're either talking to your sphere of influence or you're prospecting. And prospecting can come in a few different forms. That is expireds, cancels, or FSBOs, door knocking, all that type of stuff. Those are all forms of prospecting. There's either Mets or not Mets, right? What I would venture to guess is of that 80%, the majority of them are not regularly lead generating from one of those sources, one or both of those sources every single day, until you've set enough appointments to hit your goal. And that's an incredibly important thing to know about your business is whatever your goal is, how many appointments do I need to set to hit that goal? And where are those appointments going to come from? And then just go deep on those strategies until you have enough repetitions that you're hitting that appointment goal. And it's as simple as that. And I mean it is as simple as that, meaning if you make it more complicated than that, you're going to be working against yourself, right? So I have an agent. I love my Thursdays because I get to coach a lot of agents on Thursdays and we shoot this podcast. So a lot of this stuff is kind of fresh in my mind. I had a great coaching conversation with an agent this morning who is killing it. She's on pace to do 30 transactions this year. She's awesome. I actually talked her out of doing more prospecting today for the sole reason that she has done amazing with her sphere of influence and her past clients this year. We've changed up some of the conversation framework, more about sharing goals, asking for the business. Some of the things that she thought she was doing really well that weren't yielding the results. We made some functional changes in the conversation framework to help appeal to the basic human needs for contribution, helping others be a part of your success, which we can get into as far as language of sales and things like that. But it started to generate a lot more sphere of influence referrals from her and past client referrals from her. It's been the bulk of her business. And as she's beginning to scale, she started to get a little bit in the weeds of, not in the weeds, but wanting to add in more expired and canceled prospecting, things like that. And so we had a conversation about that. It's been a few weeks since she's been trying to make this a regular part of her cadence. And it has not been going well in the sense that she has not found time to be consistent with it. Meaning, if you're going to prospect, let's just say you're going to call expireds and canceleds, you need to have a consistent time block and you need to be doing it every single day. Because like you said, that waterfall effect, it's not going to be something where you can do it sporadically when you feel like it and it's going to yield big results. And so the thing, no matter how big or small your business is, in coaching appointments, we're going to focus on how do you maintain your non-negotiables every single week. For her non-negotiables are speaking to a certain amount of people in her sphere of influence, sharing her goals and asking for referrals. When she does that every week, hits her commitments doing that, she always ends up with more appointments, more business. And so what we started to look at today in our coaching appointment was we're starting to hit a ceiling because we have a lot of clients now. Her scoreboard's looking really good. She had to take her coaching session from the car today because she's on her way to an appointment. We're feeling like the business is starting to hit a ceiling. She's bringing on some more leverage, got a VA that we're training. That's really helping free her up. And we were just, kind of deconstructing what are the things that are getting in the way of you talking to every single one of your past clients, being in touch with them every 90 days? What is getting in the way of you asking for referrals from 20 people in your sphere of influence every single week? What are the biggest threats to your time right now, right? And how consistently are we being with our prospecting and our expired calls and canceled and things like that? And what we sort of deduce is we got to get rid of that aspect right now. If we can't go deep on it, we got to not go deep on it, right? Because we can't be half in on that. So if we are able to get rid of that element and go deeper on our sphere of influence and past clients, that's going to generate more referrals, more business, and that's going to be self-propelling. So in that coaching conversation, we looked at our business and we actually said, we've got to stop trying to do this because we're not hitting our non-negotiables on this side. And the whole conversation that I just laid out for you is a conversation I'll tell you 90% of agents wouldn't even know how to have with themselves because they don't have a plan for their business, which is huge.
So it's funny that we are, kind of diving deeper into this. On Monday, I get an opportunity to talk with a business partner of mine, Ben Kinney. And Ben Kinney, his real estate team on autopilot sells about 600 to 700 houses a year. He owns multiple Keller Williams franchises, and also is the co-owner in Place, which is a multi-billion-dollar, valued company that helps real estate, the top 1% of the 1% of real estate teams grow their business. And we were kind of talking about the secrets to success. And he said this is guaranteed. He's like, I can guarantee you success right now. And he's like, write this down. Get your pen, your pen and paper out, get your phone out, type this on your notepad. And he said, success is guaranteed when priorities happen in the right order. Right? Success is guaranteed when priorities happen in the right order. And that's exactly what you're saying, is that she's doing the right things, but not in the right order.
Well, she was and then started to drift away.
Correct.
So we brought her back to that, right?
Because we get busy. We like to shortcut things. And the other thing you talked about with this is that, we used to have this kind of grinded out mentality, right? The Gary V, mentality is like, if you're not hustling, if you're not out there 24/7 making 50 pieces of content. By the way, you need to be going to garage sales and wholesaling stuff you find on
buy stuff from garage sales, selling on Craigslist,
your side income. And he said this other guaranteed success and secret is that more hours will not equate to more success. It's implementing leverage is what leads to more success for yourself. And so like she's getting busier.
Yep.
And eventually that she's going to hit a ceiling at 30, 35, 36 before she hits a breaking point, or that she's going to have maybe her personal life, her family life, her home life starts to suffer. Maybe her health starts to suffer because she's sacrificing that. Yep. And that's where we go down this path of like, all right, I'm doing the right things in the right order now. I'm mastering open houses. I'm mastering my sphere. And I'm listening to what Brian's saying. I'm not going to add more than 3 lead sources. I'm going to do open houses, my sphere, and I'm going to call cancels and expireds. And then you start to get busy. And what ends up happening is like either you get so busy you stop lead generating, or you start dropping the balls on either service or your home life, and we don't feel like we have enough money or resources to bring in the leverage.
Right.
When realistically, the leverage piece is what's going to then get us to 60 units, to 70 units, and then ultimately now we're building a truly scalable business.
You couldn't have said it better. When you reach that point, a couple things. You just hit the nail on the head. Simple is always better. I think that we have this thing in our heads where we think that businesses that are bigger than ours are always more complex. And honestly, that's almost exactly the opposite of reality a lot of times. Normally, business get really big and really successful because they're very simple, right? We are very blessed to have a lot of colleagues that run really, really, really massive businesses and massive real estate teams specifically. And most of them are not very complex. They do the same thing every day over and over and over. They are actively trying to achieve a higher level of simplicity in all things, right? Every piece of technology they take on, every new person they bring in is really in the act of trying to simplify the business more and more. So as an individual agent, you have the benefit of your business is already simple, which is great. So don't try to complicate it any more than it needs to be. Find your 1 or 2, 3 max things that you're going to do, and then do them every single day because they will work. If you were to ask what's the best lead generation source, which is a favorite thing for agents to ask, it's the one you're going to use and do and commit to every single day. It all works. If you were just going to do open houses, do 10 open houses a week and you'll sell a lot of houses. I mean, you just will. You can do them early in the evenings during the weekdays. You can do them twice a day on the weekends. You are bound to sell lots of houses, right? So it all works, right? And then as you scale up, where agents normally hit a ceiling is now something gets dropped, and we either get on the real estate roller coaster because lead generation got dropped, or if we are at least headed in the right direction and smart about it, other balls start getting dropped, maybe on the service side, maybe in our home life, hopefully not. What tends to happen though is the business starts to break down at every level. And then we got to break through that ceiling, right? Where I think agents start to really hit a mental ceiling that they've got to break through is when you never lose your eye, or when you never lose your eye on the ball when it comes to lead generation, you can afford the leverage before you think you can. Yes. That's a big mental gap that a lot of people have, is especially going from individual agent to bringing on like your first paid employee. It's a big mental gap. We've all been there. We just think the business is going to fall apart and we'll never be able to pay this person. We're going to have to fire them. We're going to go out of business, all those types of things, right? That's like the most valuable thing you can do in your business if you use that leverage to stay in your lead generation mode. And now all of the balls that you're dropping go to your leverage. What you should never do is try to leverage yourself out of the pieces of the business that only you can do best. And that's always going to be lead generation. Like that stuff drives me crazy. Whenever we run these Facebook groups and like, who's using VAs to call all their leads for them? Like, why? Like, I know that some people on here will disagree with me, and I'll debate you. I'll go to the mattresses over this one. Like, no one should be a better lead generator than you in your business.
Well, I mean, Justin Nelson said it best. Justin Nelson runs a massive, virtual agency staffing company, and he said, people would come to me like, I want to get a VA to make phone calls, and he's like, well, who's going to train them? Because you're not wanting to make the phone calls, you're not good at it,
right? So
how are you going to train your bad way to these VAs who live in another country?
Right. You're just going to replicate your bad lead generation.
Yeah. Then people get frustrated and they believe it's a waste of money. And so, no, you're 100% correct. And in a sense of like, we just, again, we go back and we're at times we're doing the right things, just not in the right order. But you nailed on something, and I want to get to point number 2 in a second, but you nailed on something about scoreboards, and something that you've done really, really well in the businesses that you've built, and then that I get the privilege to be a part of, is that when you come in, you find your scoreboard KPIs, your metrics to hit. Yep. Like, with Homeward, you've talked about, email and answer rates and making sure that the email inbox is cleared out. That's ensuring that we're getting as great at communicating with our tenants and the landlords as possibly we can. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest complaint on the property management side is really piss poor communication. Yep. And, you know, I saw that within when you were running Livian, the real estate team, you were running it off of, what was your KPIs, your scoreboard numbers on that one? Is about listings, the number of active listings to pendings.
Yeah. So how many contracts we're executing every month, and then how many listings we're taking every month. And that's the same in our transaction management company. On the individual agent level, this is incredibly important. We coach all our agents the same way on this little mnemonic device, the Scoreboard device. You're for a real estate sales agent, it was like this when we were running Livian as well. And for my agents that I coach now, I like to look at your full pipeline as a scoreboard. Okay. So your scoreboard consists of how many current clients you have that are signed that are not under contract. You just have an agreement signed with them. Yep. So there's a listing agreement or a buyer rep agreement that is signed, but they are not under contract yet. The amount of people you actually have under contract and your people and your closings year to date. So if I've got, 2 listings on the market, those are 2 signed clients. If I got one other one buyer under contract, that's an under contract. If I've closed 3 this year, so it's 2, 1, 3, my score is 6, right? I like to have that scoreboard because at any point during the year, well, one, it starts with a business plan. You should have a goal for how many units you need to sell this year to hit your financial goals for your business. And then anywhere along the way in the year, you can just simply look at your scoreboard and know whether or not you're on the path to your goals. And I think it's such a simple way to think about it. And I think it's incredibly powerful because if we coach agents all the time, so what we do for a living, it's astonishing how few agents truly know where they stand on the road to their goals every single year. Like it's April right now. Okay. We just closed Q1. Okay. So between the amount of signed clients that you have, the amount of executed contracts that are in escrow right now, and closings, you should be a quarter of the way to your goal in those 3 categories. Doesn't mean you have a quarter of the closings, by the way, because you still have people in your pipeline, and Q1 and Q4 are going to be slower than Q2 and Q3. But your active pipeline of clients, contracts, and closings should be 1/4 of the way to your goal. I will just tell you firsthand knowledge. So many agents don't measure those things. They don't know them. And so when I get up every single day, I don't get up with the same sense of urgency to go out and build my business if I don't have a scoreboard to look at every single day. It would be like going and playing a sport and never knowing what the score is. I don't play the game the same way if I don't know what the score is. I don't know if I'm winning, I'm losing. I have no idea how much time is left. These little simple devices go an incredibly long way. And it's amazing to me how many agents don't use them. So that's a little good little actionable nugget for you. Use a scoreboard in your business. My scoreboard for sales agents is current clients, under contract, closings. Those together are your score. Throughout the year, you should be on pace to complete your units closed by the end of the year. It's very simple. And if you're behind, start saying no to things and start lead generating.
Yeah.
It's really simple, right?
And that's the mind-blowing thing. That's the hardest thing that I get even our agents to track is I'm like, why are we not tracking? First off, why are we not tracking the calls, the contacts, appointments set, appointments ran, the outcome of the appointments?
Yep.
Because, just like the agent I was coaching with yesterday and having a conversation, she's like, what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? I'm like, well, you're not on my team, but you're part of my sales organization through EXP. But I was like, I don't know just yet. I mean, you're doing all the right things. They're saying they're going to work with you. There's, the more that you can have conversation, you start asking for the business, then that's where we can dive deep. But until you track calls, contacts, appointments set, appointments ran, appointments missed, the outcome of the appointments, those people need to go and chase. And you know how easy it is to build a scoreboard now? You just go into Claude. Claude will build a functioning scoreboard.
Yeah,
you don't need to have an Excel, PhD. They will go build it. You can go download it and now track your own numbers and build everything. I built one out just for that.
Yeah, just tell it what you need to do. That's 100%. We start every coaching appointment the same way. What is the current score? And then in the last week since we last met, how many appointments did we run? New signed listings, new signed buyers, new executed contracts, new closings. The reason we do that is because we want to know, how are we trending as far as our activities? What are our activities yielding? If I have a commitment that I need to run a certain amount of appointments to hit my goals, I need to be looking at, did I set my appointments every week? And what did that actually result in, right? Visibility on very basic data should drive your behavior. If you know the score and you know you're behind, it should motivate you to catch up. If you know that you need to set a certain amount of appointments to hit your goals, it should motivate you to lead generate for those appointments every day. I would venture to guess that the 80% of people that haven't done a deal this year aren't tracking that data. And so they get up every day with a whole bunch of hopium, hoping that things are going to change, hoping that something good's going to happen. Make it really visible in your business what you need to be doing. Are you doing it? And what are the results? And you're either going to get up every day and do it or you're not. But my guess is you're going to get up and be more active if you have that visibility than if you don't.
Let's move into the most important thing that agents need to have is income. Right? Number one, they need clients, and then that'll lead to hopefully to income. Yeah. But there's part of this, when I was talking to Ben Kenny, he talked about if you want to improve your life and your income, you need to be focusing on improving and increasing your hourly rate. And there was an agent that sent me a Facebook message and was talking about how could she improve converting some seller clients, and that she lost one because she wasn't including photography. And I started asking commission. I'm like, whoa, like. Actually, that should include photography, by the way, because it was a good amount of commission. But when we saw this, if you go back, let's go back in time to 2024 when the lawsuit settlement was going on. The fear at that time was what?
We were all going to, our commissions were going to go to zero, and, we were going to have a hard time getting paid what we felt was a fair representation of the value that we brought to the table. And skirting around saying exact words right now.
Well, I mean, we're not putting the number on it, so we can actually talk about it. There was a survey that was done by the it was called Resi Club survey. This was for February-March survey for 2026, and 34% of real estate agents says that buyer side compensation is where they feel the most pressure right now, getting the buyer side compensation. Okay. And so if you go back and look from Q3 of 2024 to Q3 of 2025, buyer agent commission actually increased. This was after the lawsuit, by the way.
So this is Q3 of 24 to Q3 of 25.
Correct. Right. So commissions, that buy side commissions increased. And what I'm feeling, and what you would probably agree with this, is that, really, the commissions is in the comp plan is not under attack by the market. We think it is because that's the easiest talking track.
Yeah.
Right? That's the easiest thing to say is like, no one wants to pay this. Well, no one wants to spend any money. Like you go, if you go look at Homeward Property Management, you go talk to the landlords that gets these repair bills. They don't want to spend that money.
No, they always think it should be half the price of that.
Exactly.
We all wish things were cheaper.
Right. But it's what ends up happening is that agents don't know how to accurately articulate their value.
Yeah.
They don't actually know what their value proposition is.
Well, most of them, I would say a majority of agents have not sat down and thought deeply in their business planning around what their unique selling proposition is, their value proposition that differentiates them, which is now, it's important. It's more important now than ever.
Do you actually know how easy it is to find one now? It was a lot harder before this came out, but your Claude, your Chat, your Grok, your Copilot, your Gemini AI assistant, you could find especially if you're inexperienced, maybe you don't have any sales or many sales underneath your belt. You can ask it to help you find your value proposition so that you can articulate it to a client in 60 seconds or less. Because you know what I tell people? I'm like, and this is something like, I relate this back to your dad. Like every time I think about it when he was flying a plane and stuff like that, I said, look, you don't care who's flying the plane when you're 36,000 feet up in the air, but I guarantee you definitely care if you're hitting some bad storms, some bad turbulence. Maybe something happened and now you're praying, you're white knuckling on that armchair that you hope that this pilot has enough experience to get this plane lying down on the ground so that, you can go enjoy your next destination.
100%.
And that's why I tell him, I said, I'm that pilot that will get you down safely.
We should try that, Jesse. Pull up Claude right there. We'll see how fast we can do this, but see if we can create a unique value proposition that we can do in under 60 seconds. I'm a real estate agent. You know how to prompt it. We'll just see what it comes up with as we're talking.
I'm a new real estate agent.
Yeah, do a new agent because that's the hardest.
With no sales, right? So I'm a new real estate agent with no sales, and I need to find my value proposition when talking to buyer clients that they will hire me.
And I got to be able to articulate it in
60 seconds.
This will be interesting, man. Also, just side note, if you're not using just really powerful tools in your business that are available to you for $20 a month, man, they're so awesome. And somebody just, I can't remember where I read this the other day. This is such a good way to encapsulate the utility of AI. Stop using AI to do new things and start using it first to do things that you're already doing at a higher level. That's where people get really lost with AI and its usefulness as they just start tinkering and trying to build like useful things, like new things. You should be using it in your business to do the things you're already doing faster.
So here's the problem.
Jesse's pointing at himself.
Well, no, he's pointing because his Claude. So it's going to answer to his Claude. So So Jesse has a master's degree. He was a teacher for 11 years, right? But everyone has experience. So actually, let's use this.
But this is still fair because it would just take the conversation of the person who was doing it. So
yes. So your script that. The 60-second value proposition for Jesse over at Tour Studios, TORE Studios.com, is that most people assume experience is the most important thing in a real estate agent. And honestly, I get it. So this is what Jesse would be saying to the client. But here's what I've learned. What clients actually want is someone who listens, explains the process clearly, and fights for their best outcome, not someone who's just going to go through the motions on their 200th deal. I'm a former educator. For over a decade, my job was to take complicated information and make it make sense, to meet people where they are and guide them through something unfamiliar. That's exactly what the buying or selling a home requires. I'm also backed by resources of Keller Williams, one of the largest real estate networks in the country. So you get someone who's fully present and invested in your outcome with all the tools of a top-tier brokerage behind them. I'll never treat your transaction like just another file. I'll treat it like your most important financial decision because it probably is.
That's really good.
So if you were to go and use that and tweak it to make it sound like, I don't know if that's how Jesse talks, but it's probably something similar. But if you role played that, your value proposition is there, and you're going to say, hey, this is when you're signing that, here's the buyer's rep, it's X% to hire me.
Yep.
And I'm going to help navigate this as a former educator who's been able to get kids to understand music. I was a band director, and that's a foreign freaking language. If I can get them to understand and play really, really well, I can definitely help you navigate this home buying process with words that you probably never heard of, with the timelines you probably never experienced before. And if you have, it's probably years ago and things have changed. So here you go. Like,
I liked how it really leaned on past experiences. Because one of the biggest questions new agents always have is like, what is my value proposition? I feel like I haven't sold a lot of homes yet. Like, you're probably really good at something. You have something in your past that makes you an expert in that thing, and we can help you lean on that and how that will translate to you being a great fiduciary. So that's a really good actionable thing for people out there that are maybe newer, that are struggling to find their USP. Well, lean on your past experience. Use AI to help you sniff that out, and you can come up with something really good. That took 10 seconds.
Have you like, how many agents have you talked to that over the last 2 years had a really good year, but now they're stuck, right? They're hitting that wall. They don't know how to break through it, right? Production has been flat for the last maybe 16, 18 months.
Sure.
And it's not the market, right? It's the ceiling. Like, they're still selling houses. They're still, they're doing all the right things. Yep. And they're just hitting that self-imposed ceiling.
Yeah. I think that this is a really unique time in human history, obviously, and that bleeds down into every industry, our industry as well. The industry is changing, technology is changing, the client experience is changing, where I think this is my lived experience. Agents that I see getting really stuck and their growth really plateaued. They're producing a decent amount, but they're hitting the same marks every single year. They're really trying to find ways to sort of reinvent their business for a new era, right? And that's really tough to do in a murky environment because we don't know what the future is going to look like. We don't know what the technology is going to do and all of that, right? Where the advice that I would give to those agents is, in every aspect of your business, we talk about this a lot, you want to try and simplify as much as possible. These businesses are not complicated to build. They're not easy. They're hard to build, but they're not complicated. And so in order to get past that ceiling, all you've really got to think about on a daily basis and then go solve these problems is, what do I need to do to give myself more time to drive more business? You as the leader of the business, your sole job should be to drive more business. It's all it is, right? And so when we start asking ourselves in those terms, how do I take more of my time and use it to drive more business? Now you start to get a few of the answers around how you can start to use technology at a higher level, not to make shiny toys that were never invented before, but to do things that you're having to do right now that are taking more of your time. How do you use technology to do those things for you or more efficiently? I'll give you a great example. If you are managing your own transactions right now, one, if you're selling a lot of real estate, you should not be managing your own transactions. You should have a transaction coordinator, but I digress because that's not dollar productive. But if you are, you can go in right now and create a project inside of Claude that will greatly reduce the amount of time you spend regurgitating templated emails, filling in blanks, right? Some of the patternistic communication between you and your clients, you could within an hour go and train Claude to just, you upload the contract and it goes boom, and everything you were going to send to your client that was going to take you 45 minutes to type up is just there, right? And so then you go, okay, how do I replicate that ideology, or how do I do that same thing in 10 other areas of my business, right? What else can I streamline? And then guys, take that time you got back from streamlining and go find more business. That is it, right? And then when you get to a certain point, now you've got a great system. Now you can bring more agents on. Now you've built something that's like a legitimate asset, right? The asset of any real estate business are its systems and processes. Everything else is just human willpower to show up every day and work the system, right? So when you get to that point where you've really got a functioning machine, now you can go and start to duplicate yourself. Now you're really providing an opportunity for other agents to come and work inside your business to help grow their business as well. And you're giving something that's really meaningful to them. But you got to use it to leverage what's already existing in your business, not to go build shiny toys.
When we say we're hitting a ceiling, by the way, that's a self-imposed ceiling. That's not that's not real, right? It's that self-imposed ceiling is, we're imposing that on ourselves because we're in a comfort zone.
Yes.
Like we don't want to, like, we got to a certain point, we're comfortable and we want more. Sure. It would be great.
Yeah.
But I know what it's taken me to get to this. And I don't want to do what's going to take me to get to that at the moment.
Right.
But in reality, once you break through that self-imposed ceiling, that comfort level moves and shifts to that next one. The next one will be comfortable. And then when you talked about, optimizing your technology or CRM, or even really getting a TC, so you should get with Lady Force at Infinity Source. She's the best one out there, by the way. But when you look at technology pieces, Ben Kinney brought this up when he was talking about leverage in your business. And he's like, most people think of leverage in their business as hiring somebody. He's like, we've got the hands down the best technology we've ever had in our lifetimes at our fingertips, right, with the way software is, with the way AI is, with how quick our phones are. And he's like, what we're not doing is we're not optimizing our CRM pieces to work with us. We're actually doing it to work against us. So we don't go in and take the time to learn and go all in on building out the right automation flow. Yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you this. I'm guilty of this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save it right now, but I have a seller that I met with 6 months ago that I did everything in the beginning right. I set the appointment. I ran the appointment. I what I didn't do right was I didn't upload my notes or record my notes of what I said to them. So I don't recall everything about it because that was 6 months ago and the holidays have happened. And I did check off that I ran the appointment and that it was a nurture follow-up status, that I didn't take it right away, but I didn't put a follow-up task in place.
Yep.
What I thought I was doing well is I put a market value report in place, but now I'm hearing through the grapevine that they're talking about listing their home and they haven't been talking with me.
Yeah.
And this is someone that's kind of in the acquaintance circle that we know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, if that's the case, you would think that they're going to come back to me because I already met with them. That's not the case. I have not been doing my job. I've been not letting technology help me because I forgot to do this. I've only got one marketing piece, one of the automations in place when I should have had the text messaging and everything else of just doing check-ins. And so we don't optimize for to use it correctly, because that right there, that's more deals. That's more at bats. That's more opportunities without actually doing more work.
So true. I could go on and on and on about this. This is like my bread and butter. I think so many, I would argue the vast majority of agents are not using their CRM at a simple enough level to just make it incredibly efficient and utilitarian. It's very simple. You have people in your database that you know when they're going to buy a home and people that you don't know when they're going to buy a home, and you need to have them categorized and optimized appropriately. And then you just need to do your tasks every single day. It's so simple to build out. It's one of the things that I do for a lot of agents that are in my world, but you hit the nail on the head. We are so obsessed with new technology, and the technology that's right here at our fingertips that has actually already been here for a while, we're not optimizing it to help us in our business every day. And that's all it needs to do. Is if you have people in your world that you know are going to buy a home at some point, don't ever let them fall through the cracks. That's the number one job of your CRM. And if it's not doing that, then you got to set it up properly. Like that's a huge gap for so many agents out there.
And I'll tell you, that's a massive miss in my world right now. If I were to hire any type of consultant or any type of coach, they would go audit that and say, if you want to get from 230 closings a year to 500, this is where it's going to change. I guarantee you. I mean, there's so much gold and data in there. We don't need to buy more leads. We just need to optimize the system to start shaking the trees out.
That's so true.
To get the hand raisers in there to so we can have more theoretically come list me and purchase business.
That's a huge misnomer. Almost nobody out there has a lead problem. There's always enough leads. You almost always already have enough leads. They're already in your world. It's about organizing them, optimizing them, and following up with them.
100%. Last is as we get wrapping this up, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, is, the market feels frozen, and my sellers and or buyers aren't wanting to budge, right? Because of the market. And HomeLight did a survey back at the end of December. It was their top agent survey. 150 plus agents participated in this, and they said 47% of their clients are frozen due to economic uncertainty.
Yeah,
and I kind of, when I look at this, I'm like, man, for the last forever, I'm not even going to put years on it because it's been forever that I feel like there's a certain population, when I talk to them, there's always economic uncertainty. Like I remember before COVID, it was the crash is coming. The real estate market's going to crash. I'm going to wait for the crash to happen so I can buy at the bottom again, because we were overdue for a recession. COVID hit, and then it was, obviously I'm going to wait for that crash to happen, and then it took off.
Yep.
And then after pre-COVID, post-COVID, rates went up. Then I'm like, I'm going to wait for that crash. And it's like, guys, what are we doing here?
You can always find the apocalypse du jour, 100%. That's always out there. It's an interesting thought process that agents are saying it feels like the market's frozen and stuff like that. I just think these are really simple businesses again. So when the market is trading a lot, 2021 or I think it's 21 or 22, we had like 6.5 million transaction size. So we're trading a lot, right? Well, that means I'm probably signing more clients pound for pound. So I'm serving more clients. So it's going to be more challenging in that market environment for me to find more time to lead generate every day because I'm signing clients and I'm out there serving them. So I've got to figure out how I can keep my dollar productive activities up every single day. In a market that's trading less, we are on pace for 4.24 million in 2026, which is up from last year. But it's still down from the peak. Then we're trading less. That means I'm probably signing fewer clients, which if I'm signing fewer clients, I have more time to lead generate. So again, we got to make our businesses very, very simple. If I am serving more clients, I've got to figure out how to serve them and still lead generate. But I'm going to be signing more clients per hour that I'm lead generating. If it's a slower market, quote unquote, that's trading less, well, if I'm not signing enough clients, I've got more time to lead generate. I should be lead generating more. This is where agents expect different result. They expect the same result with not the same activities.
Right. And I also think that if you were say, all right, all of that is true. The other portion of it is, change your questions, change your life.
Sure.
Right. And everyone's emotional when it comes to this. Like, there's, what's going on with Iran right now. You saw all of a sudden, oil prices went through the roof. Everything's, the stock market was down. And then we, as of the last 2 days, we say we have a peace deal coming in, and then all of a sudden the market shoot up and everything's good again and then it's back down.
Yes.
Right. But there's all this emotional roller coaster. And again, we go back to the beginning of the show. We talk about this noise and separating it. And agents have to do a better job of separating the emotional part to find the logic side. And, clients, sellers and buyers, they don't have sellers don't have a pricing problem, right? They have an emotional problem. Buyers have an emotional problem because they're afraid of what's happening. They're afraid that, rates, they're afraid that, prices are going to fall and they bought too high.
Yeah.
And so, you can start asking and changing the framework of the questions, like some of the notes that we have here. If rates and prices stayed exactly the same where they are for the next 2 years, would you regret not moving?
Sure.
What has you wanting to have this conversation? Let's find out. Change the questions to change your life, to change their life.
100%. And that starts with having more conversations.
Yes.
That's where agents need to be thinking right now. I mean, again, the 80% that it says haven't done a deal this year, I would ask how many conversations are they having? What are they doing every day to get up and have more real estate related conversations? What is, the president of United, Rick Haas, uses this all the time. He's asks, what is your weapons fire rate? And I just think that's such a beautiful analogy. Like, how many at-bats are you getting?
Yeah.
Things generally start to fall into place when you get in the mix. When you get in the mix on a regular basis, you tend to learn a lot more, have a lot more opportunity, and you can stumble your way forward to hitting your goals if you're just active enough. So at the end of the day, slow market, fast market, trade a lot, not trade a lot. If you get up every day and you have real estate related conversations, you will be successful. We tend to find reasons to not have enough conversations. And that's the one actionable advice you should take away from every one of our shows is it is simply a question of your goals and the amount of activity you're doing every day to get there.
And look, the agents that are winning right now, they're not smarter than you.
No,
right. I'd actually
definitely
probably
some might be way dumber.
Yeah,
who knows?
Might say the opposite, right? The main thing is like a lot of them they're not doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Right. They're following the show. So hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
They're part of our DFW Realtor community. Go on that Facebook group. They're coming to our realtor meetups that we have on the last Thursday of every single month at Mexican Bar Company.
Yeah.
Right. They're participating. They're networking. That's the difference is that they're going and participating, they're learning, and then they're utilizing that in their business every single day.
100%.
Right. And the biggest thing that I hope that people take away from this is that, you're one lead generation lever away from busting that dam open.
Yep.
And once you have that feeling and once you start having that confidence level in there, you're not going to go back. Mm-hmm. You're going to know what it's going to take to build it. Brian's not in the production business side anymore, but I guarantee if you said, all right, Brian, tomorrow's day one, actually after the Masters. So Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Right? Diet starts Monday. Monday's day one of you full-time production, you already know what you're going to do because you've done it before.
Yes.
And you have confidence that you're going to succeed because you've succeeded in this before.
And it'll be simple activities.
Yes.
Over and over and over.
Yes. So thanks for tuning in to episode 7 or 8, whichever one this one is today.
You decide.
Yeah. You comment and let us know which one you want this to be. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Watch those shorts. The shorts are pretty good. People like to comment on those. I mean,
we do get a lot of, I don't read them. I'm too scared to read our comments.
You should read it. It's fun. And just comment back. Fine. Yeah. Yeah. So make sure to go to our Facebook group. Make sure to go support our sponsors, Homeward Property Management. It's homewardDFW.com. ProCare Home Solutions, the maintenance home remodeling company that will take care of you from HVAC, roofing, siding, plumbing, windows. They got it. If you need it, they got it. So ProCareHomeSolutions.com. ProCareDFW.com.
ProCareDFW.com and Tour Studios, TORE Studios.com for all your podcast, YouTube, multimedia needs. Thank you guys for watching another episode. We'll see you next week.
DFW, turn it up.